Hello, everybody. Welcome. How's everyone doing today? Sorry, I was 1 minute behind. I was just having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me, please. I need to make sure that my audio's working. That's was the problem. The root of all evil was you couldn't hear me. I am much more fun when you can hear me. Please thumbs up if you can hear me. So that's what I like seeing. Thank you, because that knows. Because here's the thing: the reason I do the thumbs up is because I like getting that visual. I like knowing that you're hearing the instructions I'm giving to you. Because otherwise, I see you. Here's the thing: I come right on, and you are 100% always saying good morning, hello. So I get the greetings whether you hear silence on the line or not. So listen, also someone said that my audio is low. I don't think my audio is low. I think that I have a booming, wonderful, fantastic morning voice for some of you, afternoon or evening voice for others. So give me a smile in the chat if my audio is absolutely fantastic. Let me know. Smile in the chat if my audio sounds really crystal clear. Audio levels are fantastic, because if you think that I'm low, then that means that's a you problem, okay? Not a Stu problem. Amanda said, can we do a transfer fee problem? No, because that depends on, that's so state specific. No, nay. Know what your transfer fee is for your state, know how to calculate for it, and that's it. Okay. Debbie asked a great question. Where can I see past webinars? Okay, let's talk about that. Let's chit chat about that, because a lot of you always ask this, and I talk about this in the math webinar. So listen. If you haven't already given me the thumbs up yet in the chat, please do give me a thumbs up in the chat. And remember, if we're watching on recording live, I don't care where you are, just please give me that thumbs up thumbs up, like button. Hit the like button. Thank you. Let me talk about where you can find some past webinars, okay? And there's a reason why I say this, because every time on the math, you always want to go over everything, okay? And we can't go over everything. So some of you always like the amortization table. Boom. Type in amortization table. You'll see that right there. I don't go over that all the time, because there it is, right there. 40 minutes of me going through it on December, okay? Then some of you will want to say, hey, I just want to go through some of your past math webinars. I go through math webinars I try to do it every other week. We go through a bunch of things. We go through things that I think are going to be relevant for the test. For most tests, that's what I do, okay? I try to go over things that are going to be relevant for most tests. Also, I ask all of you to be patient with me in the webinars as we're going through these, because what happens is this. I like to take my time. I like to show you methodology behind a lot of things. The other thing I want to remind everybody, just before we get going, have a calculator ready. As I said, be patient with me as I put the question up, because we're going to take our time through this. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell all of you, if you're looking at the question, you can answer it in 30 seconds. Fantastic, amazing, wonderful. That is good on you. What I want you to do, though, is this. I want to make sure that what you do is you're checking the methodology, okay? You're checking the methodology and how you're applying how I'm telling you to go through this. Reason being is because even if the question is easy for you, easy like parcheesi when it's greasy, okay, grease up that board, the pieces move real quick. What happens is this, even if it's easy for you, if you use that methodology and you have the steps that I'm telling you to use down, then it's going to be easy for you to apply that method to a more difficult question. So that's why I tell you, slow it down, and you'll all get something out of this, even if you're not going to get the exact questions. We'll be going through a bunch of different ones today. I have up on the board just one last thing before we get going. Our crash courses. This upcoming Saturday, I do have a long 3-hour math webinar. So if you still want to sign up for it, and if you're in time, if you're watching this before this Saturday, May 21st of the 2022 year, I have something going on that Saturday. So that would be that Saturday. That's where you go to sign up for it. All is well. That's where you go to sign up for it. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into a question right here, and we'll go through this step by step, and we'll talk about how I use my methodology. So please give me a big smile in the chat if you're new to one of my math webinars, because I want to show you how I go through things. So This says a home sold for $340,000. Okay. The buyer took out a loan with an LTV of 70%. If they had to pay 4 discount points at closing, what was the total they had to bring to closing, including down payment? Including down payment. And Esther, I see your concern with the Saturday webinars, and I feel for you on that one. So that's something I'm going to take to heart, and we're going to add some more crash courses maybe during the week for some of you. That is a really great point. I did not even come to my head. Okay, and that was something that actually you just pointed out. So let's talk about how we're going to go through this question, though. So I've given you a little bit of time to, and I always do this, I give you a little bit of time to look at this, pause it if you'd like. All right, now let's talk about the methodology, how I break down a math question. The very, very, very first thing that I do, okay, the very first thing that I do is this. I figure out what is the question asking me for. So question is this. What is this question asking us for? What is our goal here? When we finish solving for this problem, what will we have? Someone said, I've heard there's no math on the California exam. Is any of the things that we're going to be going over today on California? Nope. Go enjoy some wonderful weather, okay? Depending on where you are in California right now, I guess. Okay, so let's take a look. So what are we looking for? Okay, what are we looking for here? Okay, so they're not looking for the loan amount. Okay, yes, every other state this would be relevant. So yes, if you're taking the national exam in every other state, this is relevant. Okay. So we're looking for, so we do want to know what the loan amount would, we would want to know at some point what the loan amount is, but Yvette actually, listen to me, I'm putting an extra E in there, said money being brought to closing. Yeah, how much money do we need at closing? Write that down first. That is step one, okay? And let me reiterate why. Let me reiterate why we do this. Why this is step one, okay? What happens is this. The reason why we always write down what the question's asking is because a lot of times when you're going through a math question, and I'm sharing this for a lot of my students who put a smiley face in there, said they're new to my math webinars. I'm sharing with you my methodology as to why we do this. Because the questions are sometimes long and meandering. And what do I mean by that? They might have things in there such as Bobby Buyer and Sally Seller and XYZ Realty. And I don't know about you, but I get confused whenever I read a question and I see XYZ Realty and the, YZA Realty and then ABC Buyer. And it's just confusing to me. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if that's also confusing to you each time you're trying to read through that. So what I do is this. I basically say, okay, nitty gritty, what are we talking about as far as what we need to know? Because what that does is this helps me kind of cut out a little bit of the noise. It helps me not have to go back to the question and read it umpteen times, okay? I don't have to continuously try to go through all that. So that's the first reason why I say, okay, what are they asking us for? Second reason I do this, and listen, I'm going to talk to you, as I told you, this is going to be methodology heavy because I like talking about the how I break this down so that you have the tools necessary to answer almost any math question. And I'm going to sound pretty harsh right now, but I don't mean to. This is all said out of love, and I'm going to explain to you why, okay? Have any of you, and you're going to have to put a smiley face for this one in the chat, have any of you ever read the math question, identified successfully what it is that they are asking you for, right? How much money we need to bring to closing, and then you just sit there and say, yeah, I don't know how to get that. I don't know how to solve for this. Give me a smiley face in the chat if you say to me, okay, I've identified it, Stu. I have no clue where to start. Give me a smiley face, if that is you. So, yeah, so listen to what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to burst your bubble now. I'm going to tell you something that's real true, and you have to understand this. I'm giving you the best advice that you are going to ever get. If you get to that point and you have the smiley face, what I need you to do is guess on one. I need you to guess, because here's what's going to happen, okay? You are going to go, if you don't know how to begin to solve for it, what you need to do is guess one. Because here's the thing, what's going to happen, and I know because I write real estate exams, I plug in all the times where you just start multiplying numbers, which is what some of you will do at that point. I multiply numbers, and what happens is this. I will tell you I choose. Those are one of my answers. So literally, if you start trying to guess, you're going to get to a point where you will go down 100% wrong answer. I'd rather you have a true 25% chance. That's honestly probably one of the best tips that you're going to get. And also, too, it helps you not stress. The next thing that we do when we're talking about my methodology is we write down all the information we have. So it's sold for, okay, $340,000, right? They took out a loan with an LTV of 70%, and they paid 4 discount points, right? So what, now let me ask you this, okay? So, what am I going to be doing here? What is the money that we're bringing to closing? What is that going to consist of, okay? What is that money going to consist of? So, like, the money that we're bringing to closing. So, what's going to be included in that? Is that going to be, like, I'm not looking for an amount. What I'm looking for is this. Like, the money that we bring to closing, that's going to be the blank and the blank. It's going to be 2 things, okay? So, Drea, I hope I pronounced that correctly, okay? Yeah, this is going to be the discount points, okay? And the down payment, okay? And the down payment. Give yourself a gold star. That was 100% what we need to figure out there. So now, let me ask you this. How would I solve for the down payment? How do I solve for? So now I know that I need to know the down payment, and I need to know how many discount points. So how would I solve for the down payment? What would I do? Okay, with this information here. Who knows what that first step would be, okay? Yvette even said it, down payment and discount points. Boom, love it, love it. So, first thing that we need to know is this. We need to know the loan amount, okay? We need to know the loan amount, right? So, what happens is this. If we try to figure out the loan amount, okay, what we have to do is this. We would take the purchase price of the home, and then what we would do is we would multiply it, okay, by 70%, because it's a 70% loan to value, okay? So, let's go ahead and do that. So 70% is 0.70. Remember, that 70% is a decimal, multiplied by 340,000. Now, listen to what I'm about to tell you. Please, please, please punch it into your calculator multiple times. And if I sound like I'm like out of breath or wrestling right now, I have my 5-pound puppy that's trying to desperately sit on my lap because the landscapers are here and she's petrified. So don't mind me if it sounds like I'm trying to wrestle a 5-pound dog, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. So figured some of you would get a laugh out of that. So it's $238,000, and that is the loan amount. That is the loan amount right there, right? So let's take a look. I have a bunch of people typing in the chat. I am going to totally... So someone just typed in the chat, I am not going to be able to pronounce your name. I'm going to try though. Sabat, I want to say. Please call my name as this is live, and congratulate me on passing the exam. So I hope I didn't butcher that. Congrats. Totally. Yeah, that's why I saw that in there. I totally want to say that. Congrats. And congrats to anyone else who has passed the exam that's listening too. So we found the loan amount, right? So now that we know the loan amount, what could we do? Now, here's a couple things. First and foremost, what I want to do is this. I want to say there's more than one way. So a couple of you were telling me, well, wouldn't I just find 30% of the sale price and that's the down payment amount? Sure. But the reason why I do the loan amount in this situation is because you do need to know that for the discount points. So at some point, you're going to have to do that. So I'm going to focus right now on finding the down payment. So what I'm going to do is take the sale price. And here's the thing. There's more than one way to skin a cat with most math questions. So you don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. All you have to do is figure out how it works for you the best way. If you are doing this a different way than I am, then by all means, go ahead and do it the way that you're comfortable doing, as long as you get the right answer. Okay? So we're going to subtract the loan amount, okay, from the sale price to get a down payment. Okay? So that is going to be, and let me type it into my calculator, 340,000 minus 238,000, and please put it into your calculator multiple times because you will have the butterfingers. You will have that. 102,000, and that's the down payment amount. Okay, that's the down payment. So we know that already, and we know that's part of what we need to solve for, right? So the next thing that we have to do is figure out the discount points, okay? So how do we figure out discount points? Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? And if you have questions for me, please type it into the chat. Be more than happy to try to answer it, okay? I'd be more than happy to try to answer it, but you have to tell me where the pain is, okay? That's what I always tell students. Tell me where it hurts, and I will help you try to get through that. If you're not telling me where you're lost, I can't figure it out. So what happens is this, okay? One discount point equals 1% of the loan amount. So one discount point equals 1% of the loan amount. So here's what a discount point is. So let me also ask this question, just kind of like a little side note hodgepodge, okay, is this. What is a discount point? Why do people pay discount points? What is that? Harumphadumph. What is that? So a discount point is basically a fee to lower the interest rate. It's a fee to lower the interest rate. So someone asked a great question. Are we subtracting the discount points? Nay. It is a fee. It is on top of, okay? So it is basically going to be paid to the lender to lower the interest rates. Someone said if I'm in California and my California study stuff, some of this types of questions, nay, this is not going to be on your state exam. Your school exams, they could. It would be silly for them to do that, but it's something that as far as the state exam in California, you will not have this. So we're going to find the points. So it's 4 points, and 4% as a decimal is 0.04 times the loan amount. And we already know the loan amount, which is 238,000. And here's what I'm going to do at this point. I am going to zoom in on this so that you can see it a little bigger. I know it's a little small, so I'm going to make it better for you. Don't worry. All right. So 0.04 times 238,000 equals 9,520. And that's how much you would have to pay in discount points. Right? So 9,520. And that's in discount points. So What is the last step? What is the last step? Okay, last step, final step to figure out how much we need at closing. Okay, because we said it's the discount points and the down payment. So we would just add those two numbers together. $102,000, okay, plus the 9,250 equals, and I don't trust my brain, even though that looks like something I could do in my head. Nay, I am going to punch it into my calculator. And listen, always punch it into your calculator, because even if it seems like it's something that you could probably punch into your, do in your head, don't trust your head. I don't trust it. I don't trust my head. You shouldn't trust yours. Okay. So give me a thumbs up if you understand how we got there. You understand how I used my methodology, right? Nice and slow. And here's the thing. It's not going to take you this, so let me see. Someone said wrong number? 11,520. So let me just see. This is why I always say the Butterfingers, right? Because I'm punching it in really fast. 9,250. Oh, thank you. Hence why I say punch it into your calculator twice. There you go. See? I'm always good for one of those. 102,000, okay, plus 9,520. This is why I always tell you to punch it into your calculator multiple times, because what happens is if you do, you would be able to go ahead and get the right number. And you could also, if you're not getting the right number, after you punch it into your calculator multiple times, you could go back and say, okay, what am I punching in wrong? Okay. So someone said the start is where I got confused. Okay. So what happens is this. There's a couple people. So Shanita said, so you always multiply the loan amount by the discount points. Okay. So here's the situation here. 110%, you will always multiply the loan amount by the percentage of discount points, because the discount points, okay, the discount points are a situation where they are 1% of the loan amount, okay? So the discount points represent 1% of the loan amount. So in order to find out how much the discount points are, you would have to multiply by however many discount points. But good question, okay? Yeah, I did transpose the numbers. I mixed it up there, okay? 4 discount points equals 4%. Yeah, because 1 discount point is 1%, so 2 discount points is 2%. 3, 4, 4. Yep. So that is 100% correct there. Any other questions before we keep it moving and grooving on this one, okay? So someone asked me if I could go over commission. I usually don't go over commission questions because those are ones that typically most people get correct. Also, again, I direct you back to, because there's no possible way that I could go over everything. So I direct you to 2 places. Number 1, my math crash courses I offer at least once a month. Okay, at least once a month I offer the math crash courses, which 3 hours, I go through almost just about everything. And you get a PDF with that too. Also, if you go back through a lot of my math webinars, okay, if you go back through a lot of my math webinars, you will see I go through a lot of the top questions like tax rates, amortization tables, commission questions, okay? Than what you would see, than what you would typically see on the test. I go through questions there, okay? So that is the situation there. And I'm going to answer one other question, and that's it. Can I explain the loan to value ratio at 70%? So what I will tell you is this. First and foremost, whenever they say they purchased a home for this amount and there was a LTV of 70% or whatever percent, okay, then what happens is this. It's a situation where the LTV stands for the loan to value ratio. So basically that is the loan amount as represented as a percentage. So if I said that it was 80%, it would be an 80% loan to value. If it was 90, it would be 90% of whatever the value is. And the value is basically going to be the sale price of the home or the appraised price, whichever is lower. Sale price or appraised price, whichever is lower. Christopher asked one question, and I'm going to go on after this. This is absolutely the last one, okay? How do you determine the amount of discount points you qualify for? That is loan-specific, practice-related, and that would be something to discuss with your loan officer as to how much you could actually put down maximum, what would be the right call for you as far as, your income, debt-to-income ratio, so that is a conversation there. If we were going for our mortgage license, much more in-depth conversation than that. Right now, not going to be something that we really worry about too much. So we're going to go on after that one. But a good question, Chris. I did like that. Or Christopher. I see your Christopher there, so I didn't want to give you a nickname without knowing that's your nickname. So let's take a look at this one. Home sold on August 2nd. The property taxes for the year were to be paid in arrears in the amount of $23.75. At closing, what adjustments were to be made? Okay, so this is an infamous proration question. Give me a thumbs up if you've taken the exam and you've seen a proration question like this where you've had to calculate this. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen that. Thumbs up. Yeah, I got a ton of thumbs up on this one. Listen, we won't deviate from what we're going to be doing. Keep the same exact process. We're going to talk a little bit about this, okay? Hopefully get you a little more clear on this one, okay? And, hopefully get you to a point where we could help you answer a question like this, whether it's advance, arrears, things like that. So what I'm going to do is this. We're going to talk, before we tackle this question, okay, I'm going to just kind of move over a little bit, and I'm going to talk just in general a little bit. I'm just going to make some generalizations. That's why I'm doodling right now, so bear with me. We're going to talk about advance and arrears, and I'm going to draw some timelines, okay? I'm going to draw some timelines, and we're going to talk about this, okay? So let me ask you this, and we'll call this one arrears, right? Arrears. And pardon my drawing. I know that I'm drawing with a mouse, so that's as good as it's going to get. All right. So, what does it mean when we say that taxes are to be paid in arrears or anything is to be paid in arrears? Okay. What does arrears mean? Okay. What does arrears mean? What in the tarnation is arrears? Yeah. Thank you for making me chuckle, Melissa. What in the tarnation is arrears? That sounds like something that should be in my vocabulary. I should be saying tarnation. That is definitely something. Joe has famously said that I have a vocabulary that is similar to Ned Flanders. Someone said increments. Someone said prepayment. No. Watch this. Down here, we're going to be talking about advance. Okay. Someone kind of said it. Okay, so let's talk about if you pay something in advance, okay? So if I pay for something in advance, what does that mean? Let's talk about that, because I think that one we could get down, okay? So if we pay for something in advance, what does that mean? What does that mean? Okay, what in the tarnation does that mean? At least you make me laugh during the math webinars. Thank you for that. So that means that we're paying ahead of time, right? We're paying ahead of time. So prepaid. So you're paying at the beginning of the schedule all the way going forward till the end of the period. Okay? So if it's 1 year, if it's 1 month, whatever the case may be, you're paying in advance. So advance is the same as prepaid, things like that. So, and listen, okay? What happens is this. The situation is going to be that you 110% know what advance is. A lot of you do. Arrears is the same thing but backwards. You're paying for something that has already happened, whether that be a year, a month, whatever the case may be. So in this situation, In this question, they're saying the annual taxes were paid in arrears. So what does that necessarily mean for us? Okay, well, who gets credited and who gets debited? So here's what happens. I'm going to put a closing date in the middle of each one, right? And here's what I'm going to tell you. Whoever pays, okay, whoever pays for it, which is the circle, right? That's the person paying it. So when we're talking about, and this timeline is 1 year, okay? Right? That's what I'm talking about right now. I'm just giving you, I'm using an arbitrary timeline because, again, the question could give you a month, a year, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter, okay? So what happens is this. If this was 1 year, this would be January 1st, and this would be December 31st, okay? So what happens is this. The closing, we're just putting arbitrarily in the middle. Whoever paid gets credited. So at the end of the year, when it's paid in arrears, what happens is the buyer is to be credited and the seller is to be debited. When it's paid in advance, the seller obviously paid on January 1st, and the seller is to be credited and the buyer is to be debited. And what happens is the person is debited for the time that they are in the property. So the seller will be debited for that period of time from January 1st till the closing. And then the buyer will be debited when it's paid in advance from the day of closing till the end of the year. Give me a thumbs up if you see that, if the timeline helps you see that in general, how that works. Okay? How paying in advance and paying in arrears works. Give me a thumbs up. Okay? If you have a question for me, give me a question with specificity and I'd be more than happy to answer it for you. Okay? Bunch of you are giving me a thumbs up. That's beautiful. If you are lost, tell me where I lost you. I'd be more than happy to try to pick you up and find you. You just have to tell me where you're lost because it's something that I don't know where you're lost if I don't know. So, when you pay in advance, you're paying ahead of time. So the seller would be paying on January 1st for the entire year. Then the closing happens. You debit the buyer for the time they're in the property, and you credit the seller. Okay? When it's paid in arrears, the buyer is going to pay for the whole year, January 1st till December 31st. On December 31st, the seller is going to be debited, meaning they owe, because they haven't paid for this period yet. Okay? So what happens is this. Someone said, so the buyer is credited for the time he wasn't in the property in arrears? Yeah, because the seller hasn't paid for their time from January, okay? From January until the closing. Because think about it, the seller hasn't paid for anything yet, okay? So that is the general gist of it, okay? So, and here's the thing too. I always have other videos where I go over this too. So let's look at the question now that we got the basis of that down, okay? So, these taxes were paid in arrears. So we want to know what the adjustments, okay, will be at closing, okay? So let me ask you this. Based on what we just said, this is a payment that's in arrears. So who's going to be debited and who's going to be credited? Who's going to be debited and who's going to be credited? Based on what we just did with our timeline there, let's see if we could remember that. We could transpose that over. So the person who will be credited is the buyer will be credited, okay, because the buyer's paying it, okay? The buyer is credited, okay? And the seller is going to be debited because the seller hasn't paid, right? Because this is something that the buyer's going to pay on December 31st, okay? So, situation is this. We have to figure out what the calculations are going to be. Now, a couple of things that I'm going to say to you first and foremost is this. We are always going to base this off a 360-day calendar, okay, which is 30 days in the month, okay? Okay? So 360 calendar day, okay, is going to be 30 days in a month. Why do we do that as our default? Unless the question tells you otherwise, this is, we refer to this as the banking calendar, as just, this is how we do adjustments in the real world. So this is what your question should be based off of, unless they tell you otherwise. Okay? Unless they tell you otherwise. So the very first thing I do, is I figure out a daily number. So how would you figure out what the daily cost would be for the taxes? What would you do? Okay? What would you do in this scenario? What would you do? It would be 2,375 divided by 360, right? Because that's how many days are in the calendar year. Okay? So, divided by 30. So, we're not dividing by 30. Listen to me. 2375 divided by 360. Thank you, brain, for working for a little bit. So we're just going to round it up. It's going to be $6.60 per day, right? So some people are doing it by month. You could, okay, but you would eventually have to find a daily number, okay? Eventually you would have to. So there's no 100% wrong way to do something. If you're doing it slightly different than I am, that's fine. So now we have to calculate how many months we have, right? And then how many days. I also always say this, unless it says otherwise, the buyer is responsible for closing, okay? Buyer's responsible for day of closing, okay? So, watch this. We have, and I'm just counting the months right now because I think that's really easy for us to do. Okay? August. So, listen. January to February is 1. Okay? February to March. March to April. April to May. May to June. June to July. July to August is 7 months, right? So that's 7 months. Okay? Times 30 days in the month. Right? So 7 times 30, that would cover all the way through July, would be 210. And then we have 1 day in August, right? So, because again, the seller, we're finding out how much the seller's responsible for from when they were in the property January 1 till August 1, because the buyer's responsible for day of closing. So it'll be 211 days. Because remember, I said the buyer is responsible for day of closing, unless it says otherwise. Okay? So now, someone said 242 days. We have not completed August. Remember that. We are in the 8th month of the year, but the 8th month hasn't turned to 0 yet. We haven't finished the 8th month. We have only finished 7 full months. And then 1 day in there that the seller will be responsible for. So, 211 times $6.60 And let's see what we get in our calculator. 1,392 days, dollars and 60 cents. Okay. So, someone asked, do we just use the 360-day calendar unless they tell us otherwise? Yes, this is the default. This would be where I would default to, 100%. So I wanted to just zoom in so you could see that. So, any questions, concerns, burning desires that I can answer for you in the chat? Okay. So, and like I said, take a look back through, see how I explain this, because this will be up for you to view for a little bit. Remember, hit that like button. Even if you don't like math, hit that like button for me. And remember, even if the other instructors don't ask you, because they don't have the grubby little paws out asking you for love and affection, I do. I'm very similar to my 5-pound dog. I need attention. I need to make sure that you love me. This is one of my tropes, okay? I'm very, very people-oriented, so I need to see the like button getting hit, okay? So someone said you don't include the second day. No, I told you buyer's responsible for the second day, and we're looking for how much the seller owes. We're looking for how much the seller owes. If the seller was responsible for it, then yes, sure. But that's the situation there. So, fantastic, wonderful, amazing. Okay. So what I want to do is this. I want to make sure, like I said, thank you for the love. I appreciate it. If you do want to be tortured with me for 3 hours this upcoming weekend, head on over to prepagent.com, and there's a little hyphen in there, okay? There's a little hyphen in there, crash courses, okay? And remember, if you want to go back into and see the questions, see the explanations on any of these, you could just click the pause button, take a look at it, and see. So, for those of you who have any questions, concerns, burning desires on things that we haven't gone over, head on over to the webinar section over in Prep Agent. I have a lot of webinars on things like this, on commission questions, on tax rate questions. Those are things that I go over all the time, okay? I'd be more than happy to help you with that. If not, what I want to do is this. I want to say first and foremost, okay, thank you. Someone said, so we do not consider that February is a short month. No, that's why they use a banking calendar, okay? Why they use a banking calendar for proration. They always do. Usually. Again, there are some of your schools, some tests that they use a 365 calendar. If they do, they will tell you right on there. If not, default, if they say nothing, default to 360/30. Okay? So thank you so much. Have a wonderful, fantastic rest of your day, and have a great one.